the budget. Really interesting stuff here. Let me see if I can get this full. There we go. So we're going to talk about the federal budget. Chapter 13 in your text, the politics of taxing and spending. First of all, the budget is a document, basically, that allocates burdens or taxes and expenditures or benefits. So the main players in budgeting is the president. The federal budget, I should say, is the president. Congress, even though Congress is the Constitution, given the constitutional power of the purse or appropriations. So President, Congress, executive staff and agencies like the Office of Management and Budget and the Congressional Budget Office. Special interest groups, the media, and the public. So what about the budget? In the budget, we're gonna look and see how the budget is produced, and look and see how government manages its money, or really your money, our money, I guess I should say. Where does government get their money? What are the three major sources of revenue for the government? One source of revenue is personal and corporate income tax. And income tax came about first in the Civil War, and then with the 16th Amendment in 1913, it permitted Congress to levy an income tax. Okay, and so today the Internal Revenue Service was established to collect income tax. And the income tax that we have in the United States is usually or generally progressive, which means that those with more taxable income are paying more taxes, but also pay at a higher rate. So sometimes you'll see rates of taxes which could be a 25% rate, 28% rate, 33% rate, and the highest, some of the highest ones are in the 30s, 35% rate, and even higher than that. Sometimes the rates in certain times could have been a lot higher, almost 50%, 60% income tax rate. Let's see. So corporations also pay income taxes. They don't yield as much revenue as personal or individual income taxes. They once did, but there are corporate income tax also. Social insurance taxes or Social Security taxes are earmarked especially for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, stuff like that. Social insurance taxes are deducted from employees from our paychecks and matched by employers up to a certain amount. Usually it's about 6% of the first $110,000 of earning. That has kept going up because they keep on borrowing from Social Security, which is not a good thing, and is one of the things that we'll talk about right now, is if government doesn't get enough revenue from corporate and personal income tax and social insurance taxes, which are earmarked towards Social Security and entitlements, the federal government has to borrow money. So sometimes the Treasury Department sells bonds okay, which are guaranteed to pay interest to bondholders. The government also gets or borrows from trust funds, such as Social Security, which I mentioned, foreign investors, Federal Reserve banks, commercial banks, state and local governments, individuals who own savings bonds, which I just said bond, money market funds in the form of treasury bonds, insurance companies, corporations, and other areas such as pension funds, brokers, and other groups. The Constitution doesn't place limits on the extent or method of borrowing, but Congress has set limits on the debt, although the limit has been inching upward and upward. For as long as we can remember, obviously. The deficit that we're in is up to or over $1 trillion, which isn't very good. So the United States, the government, really has to pay interest on that debt, on the deficit, which increases the size of debt, which isn't a good thing to do. So sometimes the federal government has to borrow monies, but they will try to occasionally balance that budget. The last time I believe it was balanced was when Bill Clinton was president in the 90s. Okay, let's talk about federal expenditures. Talk a little bit about tax expenditures, okay, that aren't on here. Tax expenditures are revenue that the government could get, but federal tax laws give special exemptions, exclusions, or deductions. So a lot of times the government permits taxpayers to deduct contributions to charities from their income. It permits homeowners to deduct mortgage interest of what they pay every year. Also, sometimes you can get a tax break on your children. Also, governments allow businesses that invest their money to deduct these expenses from their taxes. So tax expenditures is revenue lost, okay, that the government could get, except because of special tax exemptions. I think they say as much as I can't remember. Billions of dollars that the government can get, but because of tax expenditures, they lose out on it. Actually, they say about 1 trillion. Wow, that's a lot. Okay, and then a lot of that is special exemptions from taxes, deductions for state and local taxes, capital gains exemptions, pension fund exemptions. When you put into a pension fund, that money is non-taxable, stuff like that. So the government can make up money, although we would have more taxes, and citizens would probably be really angry if they gave away some of those exemptions. All right, I'm going to stop, and we'll look at federal expenditures next.